Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Rise and Grind Sunday brunch today. It's Sunday. What is it? September 25th. Okay, so the month has pretty much gone by, and we're gonna get today started. I'm creating this live on a Clubhouse, which I normally haven't done in quite a while. I haven't really recorded anything. I just kind of use Clubhouse as my social and learning about people. So we're going to produce live. So don't be surprised if there are a few individuals that will pop in. Um, so you know what I mean? But yeah, so we're going to talk about, how we take it and how we deliver. And I feel that, a lot of people have I've been through a few conversations where people are talking about their experience in the audio spaces. I've come across people that have really voiced out there should be some kind of justice or regulation or moral or ethical police on good and bad behavior. And I am no angel by any means. And I definitely would say that what I do and how I operate is according to the spaces, but I also think that sometimes those spaces cross pollinate each other. Like, do I act the same way that I do when I'm working as opposed to when I'm at home? No, not always. I know that the way that I deliver my work, the way that I project myself is very, very important. And I would have to say that when I look at how I perform, how can I blend both worlds, home and work? And then also there's another perspective like social, and it's something that we tend to overlook. That we think that the way that things should be, we refer a lot to the past. But my recollection and my answer to that is that not everything in the past was so great. Like, people tend to talk to me about the 80s and 90s, and I don't remember the 80s being all that great. I definitely remember hard times. I do remember good times, but I do keep in perspective of exactly, what can I do, to better myself? How can I better operate myself no matter where I go? And um and that's really comes down to the first order of business. How do we respond? How do we take it? Whenever someone says something that either it's is sensitive in nature directly to us, something around us, or something we know about, we can use politics as an example. Everyone has a different level of understanding in politics. Everyone has a different understanding of love. Everyone has a different understanding about friendship, about communication, and that those become what they call beliefs. And however you formulate your beliefs is really going to be up to you. So when I think about all these different perspectives of what I could deliver and what people call their truths, what they believe in, what they trust in, and how they operate, I have to look about how can I go through each space without worrying about I'm stepping on somebody's emotional landmines. And the first order of business to do that is the way that you listen. Not every situation is a matter of fact, and not every situation um, is really what we have to work on. Not everything I have to answer to or does needs an answer right now. Not everything that I go through matters to everyone else. That's a fact. But when I have value and I'm exchanging value, that's different. And a lot of people will talk about value in such a way like it's a token, like it's a spendable thing. And they'll talk about loyalty. They'll differentiate between truth and lie. They'll talk about how someone needs to be checked behavior. And last time I checked on anything, who are the moral police? Just recently, in I believe is what in Iran, there was a young lady that had died as a result of interrogation and abuse by the religious police. These and it caused such an uproar that people decided in the streets, they started rebelling against the ruling regime, and that it is religious. It is Muslim, and I don't bad talk Muslims. I really don't. I actually support in what they do. But what I do understand and how I do deliver on how we deal with each other is, should this young girl been beaten as a result of wearing a certain style of clothes underneath what would consider the moral law or moral position? Because these ethical police, these moral police, these religious police, they pretty much follow a degree of the Quran. And there are different beliefs with that. There are different standpoints on the Quran. And it's very, very difficult for a lot of these people to understand that, is the rule more important than the people? Is the rule more important than love? Is the rule more important than how we treat each other? And so what happened with this girl, and I can't remember her exact name, but the story stuck with me, is where now women are taking off their hijabs, which is a traditional headwear. Either they cover their face or their head. It's a part of their faith. And that country operates by that faith pretty much predominantly. They don't allow any other religion. They don't allow anything else. But what I think about in how we treat each other here in the United States, we're doing the same thing. Like, for example, most of us believe that there's supposed to be a separation between church and state, right? But somehow religious morals, whether Christianity or any other faith for that matter, creeps in and decides how people are going to operate. And when I think about that, a lot of people have problems because we are a huge melting pot. That's why in the United States, the national language is not English. The US official language has not been stated. And they do this for a specific reason, because the population is made up of so many different people, but we operate by English. So getting back to the main point of the story, to get back to how we treat each other is how we listen. That's the first order of business, like I said. How you listen and what feelings connect with the words that you listen to. Now, I have had my difficulty in hearing things and not taking personal offense. Like, if you start talking about, for example, I would have to say being Mexican or being Latino or even being Irish, which I'm both. I've heard people say, it's because of white people. I've also heard on the flip side, well, brown is not down. Brown is, they're out for themselves. They don't really care. I've heard arguments on both sides. And the interesting thing that I feel that people go wrong is how to try the past in the present. They literally try to do this all the flipping time. Without a shadow of a doubt, people will try to drag out the genocides that were done, including establishing this country, and they're still going on. The hate is still carrying on. So how do we really adjust to that? And it's really, and this is what I love about stoicism, because it really brings in how to regulate my emotions for the best impact and delivery. And I think it's very, very important. We can't forget, some people say that Zig Ziglar came up with the one. It's not what, he will be quoted and saying, it's not how we respond, or no, wait, it's not what happens to us, it's how we respond to it and how we transfer it to be for us. When the real quote, I believe it came from Epictetus. Zig Ziglar took it from a Stoic. And so that's not, you know, it's not by accident. And when I think about the possibilities of how can I respond to better things, sometimes it's stilling my own tongue. Let me think about that before I react to it. Let me be the one who decides, and that's what you do every single time. if you really look about how we respond to people and half the things, a lot of times it's none of our business. But we know how it feels to be mistreated. A lot of us do know how to go through some level of hard times. We do have natural empathy. We have all these things that should matter, but somehow we mix up some kind of moral police and moral view that everyone should accept. But the real truth is that the way that morality and ethics are performed across the globe are different. Take example how women should be treated, how women should dress, how men should be, how men should react. What is a real man? These are global things that constantly are a battle. Tradition and culture versus, reality and presence. It's an endless debate in my opinion. And when we think about how we receive our information, we receive like, for example, 9/11 just happened not too long ago. Queen Elizabeth died. We have people that we have things like the news that will get us to react emotionally. What's the latest things that are going on? We can check this and verify this in live time. We can see, like, for example, you go to the news, you're going to hear about how the stock market is going to crap. You're starting to hear the COVID variant talks. You're hearing political trials of past, public officials. But nowhere do you ever hear about how can we just take a load off? You want to fight inflation, you've got to invest. You want to fight homelessness, you got to invest. And what happens with all these spectrums, how much of is it related really to you first? Are you taking better care of yourself? Are you being mindful of the people that you engage with? Are you being mindful in the conversation? Some conversations, it's like, okay, I heard this, I'm passing through. That's it. But see, a lot of us feel like there should be some kind of moral police, that there should be some kind of leveler, adjudicator. And what happens is it's not fair to nobody. But because and one of the few times I'll ever say this, I'm a Libra, and what Libras do, according to astrology, want to have the balance of things. And so what I do is I look at the balance of how it can serve me and others. And when we react abrasively to everything that comes across our attention, I have heard people bitch, literally, and excuse my language, bitch about how bad COVID is. And I'm like, you know what? When you want to complain about COVID, I want you to go walk in downtown Oakland. I want you to walk down International. I want you to go downtown in San Francisco. I want you to see the Bay. Oh, I'd love for you to invite you down to downtown Stockton, and I'd like you to look at all these growing homeless people. And what they're trying to do is make homes out of shacks, tents, everything else. So until you've walked a mile in their shoes and you're so worried about illness, if you can't take care of your own people, then what are you? People look at the United States like we're fools. But there is a remedy. Of course, there's a remedy. So, like I said, the first part is listening. What you listen to, how you listen to it, why you're listening to it, and the filter. Does it need to stay? Does it need to be my awareness, or is this something I just need to pass by? And the more that we do this, honestly, the more that we do things like being coherent, which is an understanding, right? The more that we understand what's coming in our ears, it's easy to decide or more than likely, it's easier to decide what's going to come out of your mouth. So that's the next thing. Second part, what we speak of. Do we have idle conversations? Right? When I deliver my word, when I deliver, when I'm saying I'm going to do, if I say I should, then guess what? The follow up is an immediate response. And it was very, very important that we understand that immediate response is for a deliver of service, an outcome. But a lot of times when many of us who want to think about what we deliver and what we have to say. Is it impacting? Is it making an effort? Is it changing something? Is it improving? So when I look at all these things and how I deliver, when I look at who I talk to, why I'm going to talk to you, because you're important. There are some people that are complete strangers. There are some people that are familiar, friendly, acquaintances, colleagues, and then there's my friends and my family. And who I call friend is not so easy. It's not. My friends are sacred to me because number 1, in my friendships, I hold them to no standard but their own. Number 2, I have no expectations of them. Number 3, their loyalty is not always guaranteed on every matter, so that, guess what? Neither is mine. There are friends of mine who definitely have had things that I just completely object to. And like I said, I walk through many conversations uncoded. People try to ask me, "Are you Christian? Are you a Republican, a Democrat?" I don't have to declare them. I don't use the self-describers. I learned this from a speaker, and I'm forgetting his name. He wrote your Erroneous Zone or Erroneous Zone. Oh, Wayne Dyer. That's right. Wayne Dyer explained in the first 2 chapters of his book, Your Erroneous Zone or Your Erroneous Zone, he says that the self-describers tend to take away from us more than build us. People lead with a bad story. People lead with bad reflection. This is not by accident. And so when we look at actually how things go down, a lot of the problems is the self-describers, the identifiers that lead people into an illusion because people generalize these self-describers many of the times as problematic. You've taken a position instead of, you know what? I'll let you try to figure it out, but I'm going to treat you politely. I'm going to treat you as best I can. And when I speak, I'm hoping that I'm speaking with concern, care, and real organic energy because I've opened my mouth too many times in my past where it did not work out. It costs me. And I can definitely say, especially to my family, to my kids, there's times I've said things to you that were completely wrong. And I'm not above that. And I apologize. But that also means that I can pivot. And so that's the interesting part is, after speaking, is the level of judgments that we engage with others, how we communicate with you, how we want to empathize with you, or how we want to talk to you. If it matters, then guess what? Things matter. So what are in my priorities, which is the next part. My priority list is number 1, my family. Number 2, it is myself. Number 3, it is my relationship with my maker. Number 4 is my business. And number 5 of how I can be an asset to society. I think about that. I do think about being an asset because, I think um when we come down to a lot of the things that we want to do, it's because of cooperation with others. And when we can decide and say, you know what, my cooperation matters because I get things done, or I'm able to be an asset with somebody who gets things done, then guess what? You're doing a great thing. But for the most part, I would definitely have to say people have an issue of which to follow, which rule, which way. And instead of just like looking, what's the outcome? I don't think anyone in this world really wants or can fathom war. I don't think anyone can truly fathom uh, how to, how do I say this? How to just steal or just how to not appreciate what you can share. And sorry, I got a little tongue tied because I'm trying to figure out the right way to say this without over judging myself. But when the more that I think about these things, the more that I think about cooperation, individuality, creativity, these are all amazing things to have. And when you lose sight of your creativity, you got problems. So here we are, Sunday brunch. You know why I do Sunday brunch? It's not every Sunday that I do it, but today in a little bit, I'm going to get up, get dressed, and I'm going to go pick up my lady, pick up my 4-year-old, and have a wonderful day on the coast. And while I'm attending to them, I will be present. I will remind myself I am safe, I'm strong, I'm loved, I'm blessed, and it's a reflection of what I want. And I will say this and rehearse this in quiet sometimes and sometimes talking. But those people that I love, it's all the days for them. My gratitude with them, for them, and for me. And I've had many days on the coast. And where we're going today, I believe it's, let me look this up in Google. I think it's Half Moon Bay. Hold on. Half Moon Bay, California. Second Bay. Pumpkin Patch. There we go. And the one I'm going to is Limos Farms or Limos Farm and Family. And matter of fact, I might even just share this with y'all. But let me switch to that screen, see if I can do that. Chrome tab. There we go. Share. So in this screen, they have pictures, they have things, they have birthday parties, they even have goat yoga, pumpkin patch, a calendar. And it's a good thing for the kids. And what we're also going to do is go across the street. There is excellent gardens and what do they call them? Nurseries. That's right. I haven't been to too many of the nurseries, and that's because something my woman loves to do. I do it for her. I explore her thoughts. I explore her her thing, and I get to know her. Even though we've been together for 7 years, I still get to know her, and I observe. And whatever to a degree that my family wants, I provide. I make sure, and then what I learn from it and what I learn from the situation. So, how does this matter into the episode, right? It's a big deal because when you're in the presence of where you want to be with who you want to be with, it's a memory, it's a good time. And I feel that more of us, if we're complaining about, you know, the things that don't matter, the things that we don't have control, which is other people, when we pay so much attention to that, what are we getting done? How are you delivering, which is coming towards the end of the show, how are you delivering your good attitude? How are you delivering a good a token of esteem? And I have been on a journey to change and improve my life. No doubt about that. And when I look at, you know, what I'm delivering, I used to be very aggressive, argumentative, constantly debate, always getting myself in trouble. And about 50 now, my attitude has changed. My attitude says, no, I don't always need to engage. I'll listen to you, but I'll really think about do I need to deliver on anything that's said to me? Some people are just talking just to talk. Some people are talking because they're hurt. Some people are talking to inform you that they feel strong and they feel passionate. Some people are informing you because they see something wrong in the program or the process. But how, you know, whatever way, direction, and platform that they deliver on, Just understand, can you be at peace with yourself by the end of the day? Are you going to be constantly in trial and tribulation? Are you going to try to ethically change everybody? And what happens is, what I've noticed, especially with me, is the more I try to balance all my interests and all my concerns for the best of me, guess what? I don't have so much drama. I don't have so much problem. I'm not passing on generational curses and bullshit. Excuse my language. But the more that I think about that, I'm going to have problems. I'm going to have objections. I'm going to have things are not going to necessarily work out. But on the flip side, what doesn't belong to me doesn't work for me. Sometimes I got to work a little harder for what I want. No doubt about that. But in the end, I think about how I'm going to deliver today. I think about when today's done, like for example, I write in the Daily Stoic. This is the journal, right? And this is, I'll show you just as an example. Like I haven't finished, I put my entries on another page, a book, or sometimes even on my computer because it's mine. But I also leave it as a ledger of how I understood things. And when I look about how I understand the world and I understand people and I have more balance, people are attracted to like, hey, I like the shift. I like the change, Jason. And I appreciate that. There is a guy on YouTube that my girlfriend introduced me to. His name's Ralph Smart. And I love his introduction. He's like, let's breathe, and he calls his audience his deep divers. That means people are willing to dive deep into themselves and the reality and how to bring all this out of chaos. And that's what we're debating constantly on is the chaos. Which is the most important fire I need to put out? How about the one that's in you? How about the one that's you? Maybe you don't know how to listen to people. Maybe you don't know how to speak. Maybe these are skills you need to work on. Perhaps maybe you don't understand things academically, something to work on. How are you doing? How are you training? And it's very, very important to remind ourselves that we do have to train our behavior and discipline ourselves. That doesn't mean critically hurt ourselves, but it definitely means that you know what, as I get older and I become more mature, so to speak, you know, when I look at how I'm developing, I have a youthful spirit. I have a mind and curiosity for a lot of things. When I learn about that and I let it be a part of me, I'm really, really, um, I'm really a better person, better dad, a better partner, a better friend, a better colleague, a business, whatever I do, I become these things that are better. But you have to constantly change this. And some people will say take religion, some people will take on different perspectives of like what they read, but it's like it's something that you have to rehearse and practice over and over. So to get mature and get more sound with yourself, what are you putting into your mind? What are you putting into your ears? And that includes people because not everyone's really adequate for your company. Some people talk about wasting time. It's not about wasting your time. It's wasting your availability with the time that you have. If I'm not available, like if someone's constantly in relationship problems, do you think I'm going to be attending to them? No, I'm not. But what I will attend to, if there's some consolation that I can give them temporarily and saying, look, it's very unfortunate what you're going through. Um, sometimes it's just not the right time for me to hear it. So this is the next part. Like in the Daily Stoic, what it said today, and I really love the question, it says, what am I a slave to? Now, on page 287 of the Daily Stoic, it says, the vulnerability of dependence, show me someone who isn't a slave. One is a slave to lust, another is to greed, another is to power, and all are slaves to fear. I could name a formal consul who is a slave to a little old woman, a millionaire who is a slave to a cleaning woman, and no servitude is more abject than the self imposed. And that's by Seneca in his Moral Letters. Um, in 47:17. But Ryan Holiday, his quote and what he says about this, he says, "We all are addicts at one way or another. We're addicted to the routines, to our coffee, to our comforts, to someone else's approval. These dependencies mean we're not in control of our own lives. And the dependency is anyone who truly wants to be free, Epictetus says, won't desire something that is actually someone else's control unless they want to be. Hold on, let me go back to, hey, Katie, how's it going? And Diana, good to see you guys. But he says, unless they want to be a slave, the subjects our affection can be removed from us and moments notice. Our routines can be disrupted. Um, the doctor can forbid us from drinking coffee. We can thrust into uncomfortable situations. This is why we must strengthen ourselves by testing these dependencies before they become too great. Can you try going without this or for the day? Can you put yourself on a diet for a month? Can you resist an urge to pick up a phone and make that call? Have you ever taken a cold shower? It's not so bad after a first couple of times. Have you even driven a friend's car while in the nicer one you own was in the shop? Was it really that bad? Make yourself invulnerable to your dependencies on comfort and conveniences, or the day your vulnerability might bring you to your knees. So, what I like about that is what he's saying. Like, for example, one of my biggest notions is how we talk about cell phones, how we treat technology. Um, are we losing our sense? We are trying to hold on to the old ways so bad that we become violent against each other. I've heard things like Ronald Reagan's running quote, "Make America Great Again." And there is a movement, that Trump reunited, and it sparked a flame of people to react. I'm not against Trump. I really don't care for the guy. But what he did was unconventional, is grabs attention. So when we look at ourselves and what we react to, what we listen to, what we see, what we speak on, when we look at all these things, are they vulnerabilities? I think that's the biggest problem nowadays is the way that we're vulnerable, right? Vulnerability can show weakness or it can show strength. I've been vulnerable on the air at times. I've voiced out my concerns. I've I get triggered sometimes when things are not going my way, which should seem like common sense. But one thing I can say about the current times and that we live in, what may seem like common sense to you in the genre that you grew up in may not be the common sense that real life has to deliver. The presence always changes. People change in the process they do things. Like, for example, I've had people who object to me because I don't really worry about their pronouns. I've had people outwardly attack me for that. And all I have to say is if I can recognize you as a human being and not your coded identities, I can respect your coded identities, but there may not be ones that I've grown up with and the ones that I recognize. I may object to those identities as a performance, but I support you in being who you are. And if that's a part of who you are, I never call you she, her. I refer to you as whatever your name is. The color of conversations paint an ugly picture at times, and to paint a beautiful picture is I'm hospitable. Would you like a glass of water? Can I offer you something to eat? What brings you to my office? What brings you to the table? How can I help you? People have constantly said we should do these things. But every time you say you should, I think it's a perfect opportunity to take it from you should to I will, and I am. And this is why it's so important to be mindful of those words, to be mindful of who you are, what you deliver on, and what you represent. My word is my bond. It's not always been that way. I've sometimes I've vouched and I didn't produce what I said I was going to do. But that's okay. And I'll tell you why it's okay. That doesn't mean that it's an opportunity that's signed, sealed, and delivered, that you're done. It means I didn't deliver at that time. I didn't deliver on that thing. And so when I look at what I deliver on, what is actually in my control? What do I have the charge of? My duty. My duty is to work to produce fruit of my labor, to provide provisions for my family so that we can eat, so that I can thrive just like they can. My priorities also are myself. I do take times from the digital spaces. I do take time off. I don't necessarily always feel that I need to be here, right? I take like when I walk my dog, I don't want to be on air. I leave my phone at home a lot of times so I can have peace and quiet and whatever the people that claim there's radioactive waves, I just clear out the noise and just like, hey, it's time to get peaceful with myself. So if you want to learn how to deliver in such a better way on a daily basis, I would encourage a couple of things. Number one, make appointments for your attention. Number two, whatever those appointments are, make sure that they are fulfilled in a duty or something to carry out in the near future. Number three, the meaning of your awareness is everything. What people go through and what you go through with them is very important. No one is truly self-made. You've had to have assistance or support somehow. So that's number four. Forget about being self-made. You've had assistance. You work with networks of people. You have people that believe in you no matter what you do, whether you're a musician, an actor. You don't become wealthy without support. So notice the sense of community in your network and you'll be great. And number five, work to being satisfied at the end of the day. There's nothing more gratifying than when you are satisfied by the end of the day. You did as much as you could. I finished today. I have more things to do tomorrow. And by making your goals of what you can complete work together, I I can almost guarantee you that your life will change dramatically. The laws of attraction talk about this. Um, what is it? 7 habits of highly effective people. All these great books, how to win friends and influence people. It's all on what you complete and what you deliver. And the reputation of that and repetition over and over makes you a solid person. Doesn't mean you have it all figured out, but you're going to gradually learn. And that's the thing. Is when I think about what I learn from and who am I learning from and how I deliver, how I pass down the knowledge, from whether it's my kids or my friends or my colleagues, when I look at what I deliver is, can I give you something of value today? That's what's important. I don't care about 6 months from now. That's going to work itself out. I'm putting in efforts for ingredients for those goals and those times, but when we look at really what's important, kind of like what, the Daily Stoic was talking about in vulnerability is, can you be vulnerable with your own emotions just for yourself and not everyone else? Not worrying about the collective, not comparing, not contrasting, just like concern yourself about you right now. And and if you have troubles with that and everything's so chaotic, here's an exercise that I really prescribe to people. When you feel so chaotic and you can't make a clear decision, find a quiet corner, face a wall, I don't care. Find a quiet place in your mind and you just do this. Now I'm going to take off my glasses since I'm on YouTube and I didn't say I was going to do video, but I am. Here's what I do. Take a deep breath in, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I do that 5 times. And the last one, or 4 times actually, the last one I do what's called an all clear. So I take a deep breath in. I put myself right back in order where I need to be the most calm because making irrational decisions about people's behaviors, about events, you need to be as calm as you possibly can be. If you're so stressed, if it's a life or death situation, I know what adrenaline's like. I know what it's like to save somebody's life. I know what it's like to be in danger. And 10 out of 10 times, the people that stay calm, that react to the situation, are trying to find how can I put my safety and their safety back in balance. It's being me being calm. How do you do what you just did? Like when, for example, when you're in a crisis situation, well, that's not applicable. But what can be applicable is just breathing, taking the adrenaline down, just taking a deep breath. Get some extra oxygen in that brain of mine before I put the muscle and effort into action. So when I do all this, guess what? I'm thinking I'm prepared. I'm going to execute. And if I fail, I'm going to I fail the first time, I'm going to find a different way, but stay calm. And having, like, a lot of people say that they have anxiety. A lot of people say that they have a lot of battles and demons. But I kind of read something earlier this week where it's like, don't make the pain worse. Don't dig the story in. Don't burrow the story so much to where it's felt over and over. What you tell people, don't greet people with your bad news. Don't greet, if someone asks you, how you doing? This is not an opportunity for you to unload. Build your way into the conversation. If you are upset and if you're with a near dear friend, and really look at that friend. Honestly, this is the hardest thing to do with any of us. When we look at our friends, are they capable of handling the matter that I need to talk about or that I'm going to talk about? That's the first one of that. Second, whatever they say, can they listen, or can they listen and respond? Can they be an asset? Because a lot of times the people that you talk to, they've got their own alternative agenda. You know, they don't understand your situation. They're not living it. And if they have, they're going to try to give you the best that they can. Anyhow, and number 3, the most important, as your friend offers assistance, let the assistance, if it's truly good for you, suspend yours and allow you to be assisted to get you right back into balance. Not fairness, balance. Well, that's all the time that I have for today. And I want to say thank you to everyone who's come out and definitely been a part of my clubhouse. I don't open this room Rise and Grind. So if you want to look for me, it's 72 the Architect. My club is called Rise and Grind with 72, and that's the house. You can find it when I make these shows. I'll try to publish it on Twitter. That's the best I'm going to tell you right now. There is a priority to work on my internet and my website. So thank you all. We'll see you all next time. And if you're following me on YouTube, just look up for 72 the Architect, um, or Rise and Grind with 72 the Architect. You're going to find my channel somehow. And thanks. I appreciate you all coming out, and may you all have a blessed day.